Men good. Unga bunga. We generally avoid controversy here, but sometimes we dare to say something that will fire us deep into the trenches. Kings, protect your mind from alien brain control. How was your men's mental health month? What is a mental health? And are men eligible to apply for one? According to the internet, the answer might not surprise you, but I want you to have one all year round. And apparently, I'm not alone. Enter the VTuber, and it is impressive seeing how many of the posts about this month come from women and female VTubers in particular. It was through women that many found out this thing even exists. If men were the men's posting about this, their reply section would look like Reddit or Blue Sky. Full of insults, threats, minimizing the difficulty men face in mental health, their worries, their struggles, they do not matter, that men have some sort of privilege by genetics, and that you are a generational criminal, guilty for every crime ever committed by your race or gender. Speaking of existing, did you know this is a 3 decades old month? So many guys clearly had no idea, and why would they? It is not something that people ever talk about. Somewhat ironic, considering it is about men's mental health. Another thing society does not want us talking about. Someone cares. And now we are allowed to be aware of this due to the novel and unique opportunity that content creators, such as the aforementioned VTubers, have fostered to let males and females perform the frowned upon act of intergender dialogue. When people are not divided or not under the boot of the system, it is pretty clear that people can like each other. Females can wish for unga bunga men's to have positive mental health. But before we get to how these grifting, money-grubbing females of the woman race are using positivity to lull us into a false sense of security before devouring our flesh and sacrificing our souls to femme-coded Satan, a short detour to our best friends, the corporations. Thank you so much for showing you care. Finally, someone we can trust. A change in the pendulum window. I thought June was all about pretending to care about gay people. Look, Bungasoft, making your social media handler pretend to not hate men even for a second must have really hurt. Give them a week off to recover. On call, of course, in dog years. Let's not be crazy. Actually, screw that. Assign him double crunch. But there is something that needs to be pushed back on. Corporations, you can still pretend to care about gay people and men at the same time. Your fake support is limited only by the number of flags you can put in your corporate PFP. The blue sky's the limit for your virtue signaling. Look here, Ubisoft is the chief offender when it comes to harming men in the gaming space. They not only took away beautiful escapism by ruining their own games, taking the male fantasy of being a cloaked Chad, dealing death to corrupt politicians and moneylenders from the shadows, then turning it into an average day on the New York subway. Ubisoft also is the birthplace of most consultant firms that infected the rest of the industry. They used threats and coercion to fill development teams with men-hating activists. They actively participated in consulting schemes that caused damage to men's hobbies, and thus men's mental health. Well, they actively attacked and funded those consultant firms that openly, proudly hate men and harass men. Men are simple, like picking up a huge gun, blasting a demon in the face, and then having a sexy dame give an appreciative kiss. This is science. Boobs improve mental health. Here, have some boobies. It's science, don't question it. Like any other booby pander, it means nothing. Same with the rainbow, or that pastel one that's replacing the rainbow, which never shows up on their foreign accounts. Wonder why? Ubisoft does not care about pride. And they definitely do not care about men's mental health. You do not thank the person who punches you daily on the day they don't. It is pure manipulation. The same way Disney's quarterly promises to do better run false when next year they have to make the exact same promise. Lip service from activists, government, corporations, that is worthless. If you want to praise them, wait until they have made a substantive change. Not when they talk about maybe, perhaps, doing it in the future. And at this point, I think most men fully understand that the establishment and the elites do not care about men. They destroy spaces to manage mental health, they mock attempts for men to talk about their difficulties, they have torn popular male franchises to shreds, and they call you names for noticing. The establishment educators teach identity-based fabrications, which rank everyone on identity traits. Traits which label men as the most privileged, and thus give them the excuse to say men's issues do not matter. They use privilege as an excuse to harm men, that encourage their acolytes to harass and attack men on the basis that men deserve it for being born with this so-called privilege. Men have woken up to the fact that the establishment just doesn't care about men. But not only that, most actively hate men. Government, corporations, and activists are your enemy. They are sitting on the most money, reach, and education of any time in history when it comes to mental health awareness. Yet, they have also caused the greatest degradation in mental health. They have caused a massive mental health crisis. They have systematically attacked every single route men have to handle their own mental health. This is not a coincidence. Entertainment such as video games are a hobby. Hobbies which are vital for our sanity. Games used to give us role models to look up to teach us to strive toward. Men of every race have long looked up to what is now called toxic masculinity. To Master Chief, Aragorn, Superman, Son Goku. Then, activists labeled these as problematic. They demanded men's hobbies and games be changed to accommodate women to be less problematic. And they use compassion as a weapon to destroy everything that provides happiness to men. And what are those things? Fishing, driving around, going for a walk, pickup sports, the gym, going to some sort of men's space like a men's club, golfing, the arcade, and of course, entertainment like movies, books, video games, focused either on testosterone, like your Doom or Halo, or games with fan service like your Senran Kagura or your Stellar Blade. Calming spaces to get together away from the madness. Male-oriented jobs, places of discipline, order, and community like your local church. The elites who run society knew full well how important this is for men. Again, they are sitting on the greatest wealth of mental health knowledge in human history. But they took that extensive knowledge on mental health and they attacked and destroyed the foundations of healthy masculinity. This is not some accident. There is not some coincidence that every single major factor that leads to men being able to manage and stay mentally fit on their own was vilified, chipped away at, and brought to ruin. The mental health crisis is fully planned, methodically applied, and it's within expectations. It should be very clear that elites, educators, politicians, corporate leaders, the United Nations, all have been pushing a narrative against men. One that revolves around a fiction that men are born with privilege. Consider how often the excuse is used that men are privileged due to the existence of millionaire executives. Think about this logically. For the 99% who are not in that position, how does it help a man struggling to pay rent, who is one accident at work away from being in debt for life, to know that there's another man out there who's making his annual salary in a single day? The elites will tell you you are guilty of the privilege that you share with that millionaire's identity traits, despite the reality that you share zero of the actual real wealth. And remember, the people saying this, the people pushing this fiction, are the wealthiest, most powerful people in the world. The few people who could change society's ills, yet never would, and they want you to think the average man is the danger, the threat, the oppressor. What do men need for their mental health? Discipline, control, a space of their own to relax in. It was all taken away, deliberately, by people who knew exactly what would happen when they did so. Men now realize that society has abandoned men, and it was done out of malice. Your mental health will not stand up to trying to control the things you can never control. It is like fretting over a world-ending comet. If you spend every day fearing this once-in-a-billion-years event, you will face existential dread over something that is less likely than you winning $1 million lottery 10 times in a row. You are responsible for yourself, not for someone else, not for this fictional character of an evil man that the elites portray and normalize. Never give in to guilt. When they want you to apologize, make it clear, I apologize for absolutely nothing. How do we solve the men's mental health crisis? If society is not going to help us, we have to do this ourselves. So where do we go? Is the answer in therapy or medication? There's a habit for one side to completely shun therapy and meds, and the other to treat it like God's ambrosia, the cure-all for mental ails. Look, every person has their own ways of handling stress. There is no one-size-fits-all, and this is an incredibly important message. What works for you is your business. Do not feel shamed for seeking out counseling if that is what you feel you need. Similarly, do not feel shamed if that doesn't work for you, if you need something else. Not a medical practitioner, this is not mental health knowledge. But if you are feeling stress, and not just during Men's Mental Health Month, there are 12 other months, 11 of which the normal Earth humans get to experience, consider what you need for you. Is it time with friends and family? Does meditation and clarity help your mind? Is it going to church? And as a note, you do not have to be religious to attend most churches. It can just be a place to relax and find other calm people. Find guys to play some pickup sports with, go for a walk, find a mentor, become a mentor. Guys enjoy learning, mastering things, and they enjoy helping others do the same. Whether there's a craft, a hobby, a useful skill for life, get off social media if you feel that it is poisoning you. Consider entertainment avenues that have not been tainted, even if you have to go to indie authors, indie games, and find something that may not be a franchise you have loved for decades before it was deliberately tainted. We all have been engulfed in the cruelty of social media where positivity is demonized and evil is promoted. And this is what happened with Men's Mental Health Month, especially targeting the people who brought attention to it and wished for men to do well. Now, I was considering showing off the thousands of vile and disgusting messages attacking the Vtubers who spoke about men's mental health, or for those who use this opportunity to harm men, to attack men, to say men deserve some of the most awful things you've ever heard, but I do not think you need proof of this happening. We have been around long enough to know exactly the sort of people who hate men and the messaging they send completely unfiltered, even on the most censorious of social media sites. We all know what these people say. We have seen them doing this for over a decade. Block them, mute them, ignore them. You do not deserve the hostility and evil of these monsters. The media hate machine that combines official mainstream misinformation corporations with the insidious nature of social media sites, which pick and choose which forms of hatred they will promote or shut down. Do not let bad actors feel welcome. And if there's a personal advice I can give if the online hate ever becomes too strong, quiet quit. Quiet quitting is a strategy of not giving your all to a job that mistreats you, and we can do the same to the elements of society that mistreat us too. Consider joining and protecting positive communities online and blocking the negative. And this brings me back to the VTubers who put themselves at risk in order to bring attention to this. Why did this drama around men's mental health center so much around female VTubers, both positive and negative? For those who hate men, they will call VTubers who show support for men the defamatory term grifter. Just think about what that means from a logical standpoint. Grifting in this society is wanting men to be healthy, to have a sound mind, showing positivity towards men. They hate men so much due to societal normalization that they can only consider a woman who openly shows love towards men as a grift. To recontextualize what that means, they are saying that they expect the open hatred of men to be such a universal thing that a woman who shows kindness to men can only be a deceptive succubus of lies. And this is the exact same strategy they've used for over a decade. It is to stifle discussion, to make the topic unimportant, and thus the subject of the topic, in this case men, unimportant. If nobody feels they can talk about men's mental health issues, the topic vanishes, and men have to deal with it in silence, feeling like nobody cares. This is why we say this is all deliberate and insidious. There are multiple steps to making the mental health crisis happen, and they have run a clinic. This strategy of bullying and harassment and the activists who do it needs to be pushed back on, or it will never stop. It has become normalized to harass anyone, men and women, who show positivity towards men. At the same time, it marginalizes women who support men. They do not want women to be showing open positivity towards men, or vice versa for that matter, because it unravels the narratives they weave to pit men and women against each other. When a VTuber says they support men, it makes other VTubers feel safe to say it too. And suddenly you have a lot of people saying something and realizing it is not actually a hot take, it is not dangerous, it is normal. And then men start to feel that some people care. The men are not the enemy, they are not alone. It makes men feel good, and that is what they find unacceptable. It takes so little to unshackle ourselves from the activist reign of terror, and VTubers prove this. And the more this happens, the more there is a revolution against the elites. They do not want this to become commonplace, for the damage they intentionally cause to society can be so quickly undone. And they're making it clear what the punishment is for going against this. As a result, there has been a persistent, month-long harassment campaign against these VTubers, one that is meant to set an example, to make them feel unsafe, to put them at risk, sometimes of very serious, real harm, such as doxing. Make sure they never do this again, and neither does anyone else. If we accept the harassment and silencing people who stick up for us, we are going to get more of the harassment and less of the support. So push back, and you will find there are far more people who will push back with you. The hostile activists are a tiny minority, and they always have been. Because today it is men's mental health, but those they target will continue to face different shifting accusations. Today it is pick me or grifter, tomorrow it is phobe, or those German fellas. When Twitter starts to harass and dox an artist over getting the skin shade correct from whatever perspective they want to draw from, since there's no such thing as drawing a fictional character morally wrong, stand up to the harassers. Ask this: is art Twitter a place where you want artists to get constantly harassed and bullied off the platform by bullies, or is it a place where artists can just post and enjoy art? What is it we want? Activists hurt everyone, not just men. Like subreddits, which are dedicated to solely long-term, constant harassment of individuals, Reddit, the same place that will ban you for breathing the wrong way because it might cause another person distress if they read what you've posted, will allow entire subs that specifically exist to destroy the mental health of real people, and the corporation and activists support and they promote this. We should have zero tolerance for it. So let's get a little serious for a moment. Why are women VTubers doing this? Is it a grift? Because their audiences are men and they want to keep their audiences happy? Is it just for the monies? Let's be, for a moment, as uncharitable as possible and entertain the meritless accusations as if they were real. Your parasocial relationship with the content creator involves them creating the content and you enjoying it. However, it is no mystery that the sudden popularity of the VTuber coincides exactly with the massive mask-off hatred that celebrities, shows, movies, owners of major franchises, corporations like Wizards of the Coast, many game developers decided to ramp up in the last 5 years. Watching the wealthiest people on the planet demand everyone else lose their jobs, stay at home, mask up and obey the government, while they were allowed to keep working, while they were allowed to keep breaking the rules, while they have kept being millionaires. And all this after the same celebrities were revealed to have known about the likes of Harvey Weinstein for decades. None of the people who covered up and duped the public about Hollywood's worst kept secret were ever held accountable. Yet, they made sure to make college so miserable for men that now there are only 2 men in college for every 3 women. There are endless reasons to hate the corporate, ultra-rich, douchebag celebrity class. But then, when we felt betrayed by every aspect of the entertainment industry, VTubers show up in the West. They are blunt, funny, playful, casual, and genuine, and most of all, they respect and love their fans. After constant abuse from society's clowns, a surplus of VTubers gave us kindness. To many, this kindness was like an oasis in a desert. Now perhaps this is all fake. It's impressive to keep up such a facade for years, but perhaps these cat shark girls all hate us and are just insanely good actors, much better than anyone in Hollywood. However, We all know this is not the case. Why do VTubers want men to have good mental health? Is it a grift? Or perhaps we are people with a shred of common sense and we understand this, which is why activists cannot. VTubers, they have brothers, fathers, friends who are men. They know men who have struggles. They care about people, even people who are different from themselves in some ways. Perhaps VTubers understand men's mental health is women's mental health. Here's one of the things that modern misandrists fail to recognize. If you have a society where men are struggling, are mentally unwell, are prone to act erratically, and unable to control themselves, that makes a society that causes anxiety in everyone else that would normally be mentally well. And that anxiety starts like a contagion to make other men and women feel anxiety. Erase the mental health of either side, and everything starts to unravel. Modern activism has gone completely off the rails. When activist groups focus on making the world a better place, it improves society for everyone. And there is a half of feminism dedicated to helping women that is doing a good thing. However, there's another half that is not about women. It's all about hating men, about blaming men, about taking from men, about ruining the hobbies and spaces that men use to handle mental health. This not only harms men, this harms women too. And on the other side, for men, there are influencers and groups dedicated to men, mentors, equal rights, men's physical and mental health, discipline. These groups seek the same for men as a positive half of feminism. But instead of getting establishment approval and widespread praise, male supports are constantly under attack. They are demonized. And so, despite these being good for men and good for society as a whole, society does everything it can to prevent positive male supports from being able to flourish. It is a positive thing for men's role models to encourage men to do things that make their own lives better. Ask yourself this: if you were a woman, who would you want to be around? A man who is healthy, calm and collected, has things in order with things to enjoy and look forward to? Or would you rather be around an unpredictable, angry and depressed man who feels like he has nothing going for him? What is the logic for so many to be so violently against Men's Mental Health Month and men's mental health in general? Getting healthy, finding social groups, getting to nature, being with friends and family, joining sports or religion, or whatever you do to find your calm and discipline, this helps men. In turn, it helps women. The people who openly hate men are some of the most miserable and unpleasant people in the world. Kings, ignore the people who want you to feel generational guilt. You are not responsible for anything any other person, man or woman, has ever done, is doing, or will do. And the people who push this will do so while never taking accountability for their own actions. Never give them the time of day. Focus on yourself. Be like Batman. Warm the core and the extremities will follow. Become the best person you can for yourself, not for others, and you will in turn become a better person for everyone else too. Ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country can do for you. So level up that mental stat the best you can, and instead of the usual like, comment, subscribe extra, think about what content creator makes you laugh and go put a smile on your face. You deserve it.